Hi, welcome to the 40th anniversary of the Oley Foundation. I hope that you have an opportunity to speak with Oley staff, and I'd like to introduce them from here. We have Lisa Metzger. We have Kathy Harrington, raise your hand. We have Andrea Taylor. We have Maisie Sear. And who did I miss? Mary Wooten. And last but not least, come forward, we have Beth Gore, who is relieving me from all of the responsibilities and then some of the executive director. I can't even say it. I've been saying it for so long. So thank you all for coming. And we will, it's nice to see consumers, Oley members from near and far. And when we talk about far, we will have New Zealand tuned in virtually today. That's pretty far. And people from the past and people from hopefully the future. So, and my name is Joan Bishop, in case it's a blank. To my right is Dr. Lyn Howard. Anybody not know Dr. Howard? And Jack, keep your hand down. That's her husband. And this is Teresa Oldenburg Clayton. And Teresa is Clarence Oldenburg's daughter. And her uncle was the man who donated the seed money that gave us our start, kick-started the organization. So thank you very, very much. So we're going to begin with words from the past, and we're going to start with Lyn Howard, who wants to be first, right? You always want to be first.
Well, I have been retired now for probably 8 years. So in a certain sense, I'm looking back on this field. And I would say that it's always been a field that had some difficulties in establishing itself and getting recognition. But the one thing that has really worked well has been the Oley Foundation. The Oley Foundation membership and people looking to it for advice and has grown and grown. And I think it would be very unlikely now that anybody who is on this therapy, wherever they are, hasn't been able to establish contact and so on. That does leave a slight gap. There is a gap, I think, between who eventually is at home and is living full life and hopefully independently, and the person who has come into hospital, something of a train wreck. So one of the questions, of course, then becomes, well, how well are hospitals doing at providing reliable parental nutrition and long-term if it needs to be? And that is a problem. It's a problem for issues which I'm not going to cover, but I'd be glad to if anybody wants to ask me. But the fact is that that field was never big enough to warrant the American Board of Medical Specialties to take it on. And so what is true is even in the times when this field was flourishing quite well, it's actually the case that 80% of patients or consumers were in fact being taken care of by their primary medical contact, quite often a surgeon. And it was only 20% who became part of one or two of the big programs that were looking at the field, trying to do research in the field, trying to develop in different ways. So in a certain sense, the fact that the number of consumers, as far as I know, is not flagging, that tells me that most of them have probably come from that 80% of physicians who don't have their primary training in this field. They may have had it in surgery, they may have had it in gastroenterology, but they didn't have it in what it's like to live long-term with this fairly complicated therapy. And so as a consequence, the Oley Foundation has in fact provided very extensive outreach. And I would say it's the one thing which I put my hope on for future consumers, because it's, yes, it is a measure of somebody who made it to independence, but at the same time, it's a group that probably are very sterling. The people who made it this far and are doing whatever they want to do and getting on with it are probably extraordinary people by and large. So my own feeling is, where does that leave us and what should we be doing? Well, one of the things that was true early on, and I'll be quite blatant about this, is that nutritionists in general were fairly timid and tended to be dietitians following the orders of a physician who didn't really know that much about nutrition. It was a kind of weird situation. But the dietetic population has actually become much stronger. And they have become another group of people who really do know what they're doing in the long-term undertaking of helping support people. They're not, as far as I know, organized to do it outside the hospital yet, except insofar as they may be part of a service that's supplying the requirements. But in general, they have become much more informed, and they've gone a long way from being that person who gave you a diet as you went out the door to somebody who really has a pretty decent understanding of what's going on. So I think that it's a shifting field. And when I think about it, since I entered it when I had first graduated in medicine back in 1965, it tells you something about what has in fact been the course of this event. And maybe one of the things about getting to the point where you're living, as any consumers here probably are, very independently, but on the other hand, linked to Oley, I hope, so that they get information when they need it, is that those people are amazing people. They're people who have shown incredible resourcefulness. And so I think there probably are people who didn't get as much support as they need and didn't make it, but a lot of people have done extremely well. And that's the community which the Oley Foundation really is supporting. And that's very appropriate, I think. So that I think is a fair description of the field. There has been, it's obviously been through a few somersaults. There were times when people started, I would say, stealing other people's patients and doing some odd things like that. And there was a lot of competition in providing the service, because quite honestly, they would say, if I can have one patient, that covers the cost I need, which was extraordinary. And the price, of course, of providing that service has now appropriately come down, down, down. So that now it's far more rational and far more, doesn't draw too many people to just do it for financial reasons. So most of you, I'm sure, if you're a consumer, probably do have a very reliable service that is working with you. And the fact that you travel, obviously, to come here and you're living independently is what we want, and it's terrific. If I was to be asked what I think we should be doing in the future, there's a lot of uncertainty, I think, because if there isn't a core of people making this their primary field, I'm not sure how much the basic research and changes in perhaps gut improvement and so on, is how far it's going to go. But I'm not as worried about that, because there are a lot of very good scientists looking at that, not as a physician, but as a primary person studying it. So I think the field has got terrific strengths for the people who make it to be independent. I'm still worried about the people who don't need much more support than that. Yeah, I think that's my contribution.
You have to say the end. And our next speaker is Teresa Oldenburg Clayton, with a few words from her about back when, right?
Back when my dad, I remember when he got sick, I was 12. So I remember that. And he was always in the hospital, always in the hospital. He'd come home, he'd be at home for maybe 2 days, back in the hospital, because he had to be fed somehow. They gave him, I'm trying to remember, I think they only gave him like a year or 2 years to live, until he met Dr. Howard. And she gave him like 25 more years. And again, it was back at that same hospital that I still say killed him, because they gave him the staph infection. But yeah, like I said, I was little. I remember, I mean, he had a clean room at our house. And my nieces and nephews at the time would be over, and he'd let them come in, and he'd let them flick his little bottles and snap them and help fill his bottle, his medicine up. He had a lady that he worked with at GE. She made him his own pole, be able to push around the house. I was in a car accident when I was 18, and he had that pole and all of his medicine on the thing. And my mom told me afterwards that they kept going to him, asking him if he was okay. While I'm sitting there laying on the bed, they kept asking him if he was okay. And he was throwing a fit. She said that he was throwing a fit and was ready to call his lawyer if they didn't go to me and leave him alone. And
Oh, it was nothing,
But-
it was nothing personal.
No,
Teresa.
no,
I'm sure.
he was what you call it. Everybody, he was loved by everybody. He was an awesome guy.
He
No
sure
matter-
was.
No matter what, I mean, he babysat my youngest. When he was in pre-K, putting him on the school bus and getting him off while I was at work. And, my dad's got his machine, because at that time, he was on it longer than just overnight. He was like almost all day or whatever on it. And my son would be in his room, in my father's room, and he would be yelling, "Papa, Papa, I need more chocolate milk." My dad would get up, go make him more chocolate milk, or bake him bacon and bring it to him.
Like any,
It's like-
like any grandfather.
Yep. Yep, and he used to let him help him snow blow the driveway, and he couldn't start this, my dad couldn't start the snow blower one time. And my son, he was only 4, my dad went in the house and left him outside, and he started the snow blower.
Wow. Teresa, do you remember your father before the Oley Foundation
Oh, yeah,
and after?
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, before the Oley Foundation, he was healthy. He worked, we used to go all different places, and then we didn't go anywhere after he got sick, because he
Mhm.
couldn't go anywhere. And then when he finally got to where he got not to be in the hospital all the time, and he was home, he actually started traveling again. I mean, they used to call and put in orders for his stuff to be delivered when he went out to my Uncle Bill's in California. They'd be delivered at their house so that he could be fed there. But when we were younger, he was just,
just
My dad.
wondering if getting together with other people helped your dad
getting-
adjust and
Oh, yeah.
learn how to live.
oh,
and-
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, what you call it, when we used to have the picnics every year. Yep, he used to talk to everybody. But yeah, it was because he actually got social again. He wasn't for a while because, like I said, he was constantly in the hospitals. And I remember my mom getting a ticket speeding down Third-Way one time coming here with him.
Yes, sir. He certainly inspired us, and we're so grateful for your uncle for providing the seed
Yep.
money.
Yeah.
To-
My
to
real estate
launch.
tycoon.
Yeah, yeah,
I just
yeah,
wish he would have taught others.
Yep. yeah.
He just passed a couple years ago.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's been a journey, and between you and your family, we're just so grateful.
Yeah, my
Just
mom
so
used to do a
grateful.
lot. My mom.
Or your mom certainly was. And they used to bring family, probably you. Yeah,
Mhm.
with them to the different.
I used to
meetings,
always
so.
go.
And without the Oldenburgs, without the Lyn Howards. We wonder where we would be. I mean, where would we be without this community? So. That's it. So could I take a walk down memory? Do you have more to share?
No, good.
Okay. So I'm gonna take a little walk down memory lane. Well, number one, first of all, I really want to thank Dr. Howard and the Oldenburg family for seeing something in me when I showed up on the doorstep applying for the job. I mean, I really I was looking for something that would touch my heart a little more than being a florist. And it was sharing that one thought that led me right to Dr. Howard. So talk about destiny. But thank you for seeing that something and believing in me along the way. So I started in May of 1984 and immediately started visiting the HPN clinic. It was on a Thursday. And what we noticed on clinic day was that the waiting room was like a family reunion. I swear there was even food served in there. The connections were so strong and so lively that a couple of the ladies and I said, I wonder if we plan a picnic, would they come? Would they enjoy an afternoon of just socializing? And we put the invitation out and about 42 people showed up. Lenora, you were one. And we had a member who operated an apple orchard locally. And she said, oh, have it here. So we did. We were all set. In fact, Lenora's father, who was a patient of Dr. Howard's, he manned a grill. It was food to order. He has a little tiny grill with 3 chicken legs, a hot dog, and a hamburger. That was the food. But the point I'm trying to make is word about the picnic circulated. So we were forced to expand the list of invitees, and this happened year after year after year. The picnic got bigger. Then the companies wanted us to set up exhibits so that they and their staff could attend. And then the next thing you know, somebody said, well, we should have a few presentations. So the conference itself was built on our community's input. Quite exciting. So some of the things on the community's wish list, for example, Joan, at the Oley meetings, could we organize a sleepover for the kids? They never get to go on sleepovers because of the responsibilities involved in managing kids with IVs. I thought, I'll think on that. And it didn't take me long to figure out that that wasn't possible, but we could organize pajama parties. So that has taken off based on just a suggestion or a question. So we do every year host a pajama party and the kids absolutely love it. So another suggestion that came to me, a consumer came to me and said, Joan, why do you've had 8 conferences in Saratoga Springs. Why do the West Coast people have to travel to the East Coast for a meeting? And I said, oh, come with me to a board meeting. They came with me to a board meeting, and this woman's personality changed immediately. The switch flipped, and she sat there and went to the board, you need to get out of Albany. So I think she scared them, but she left the room, and you know what? In a month, we were headed to Cleveland because one of our board members said, Mr. Steiger, I'm in Cleveland. I will give my staff the freedom to help you plan the meeting and execute. And there we were. First time out of this area to Cleveland, shaking in our shoes, really thinking, oh, we were comfortable in Saratoga Springs. So the theme for that meeting was the Oley Foundation on the move. And we're still moving. So that was another, effort driven by our community suggestions. So there was a time that traumatized me, and our funding was our sources were shrinking. Healthcare reform was on the horizon. 5 companies combined, joined to one, the equivalent of 5 donations. Individual company donations did not compare with the one company's donation. So things were looking dim. And we went to our annual meeting with plans to share with the attendees, and they were furious that we knew that things were dire and we hadn't shared it. So they demanded that they step up. We implement registration fees, whatever, membership fee, whatever. So, and then they took action, and the next, call it a problem. The next situation was they started quilting and making Afghans. And I thought, oh my God, I don't have time to have raffles every week. So we were headed to San Diego the following summer for a conference, and we came up. Born is the silent auction that we still enjoy today. So that generates a fair amount of money, but it generates enthusiasm and enjoyment for an event at the conference that isn't a lot of work, but it really is an enjoyable social activity at the conference. And it's one that is not centered around food, which tickles me. So that's another, member suggestion or just something that came about because of members. So speaking of the silent auction, I'm hoping that the 40th year, the silent auction at this year's conference is one of the best ever. And everyone can contribute. Honestly, if you knit mittens, if you crochet Afghans, or if you have a connection to anyone in business that wouldn't mind contributing to the auction, please, 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 please help us. Exhibitors, corporate friends, please consider donating. You have an opportunity at our meeting to showcase your donation to the silent auction at your exhibit table. So, and another opportunity for companies, if you would encourage your employees to look at their connections to see if you can't generate or tease an employee to donate a week of their timeshare. Somebody's praying for me to lose my voice. It's working. So and thank you. Thank you to all the corporate partners. Thank you to all of the corporations that help us along the way. It's been beautiful, whether it's financial or otherwise. It's appreciated, and it's helped us get through the first 40 years. I want to thank Baxter for supporting this meeting. Is Baxter here? Baxter rep? You can't hide. Find them, someone find them. So, we have an important guest over here, Wanda Johnson. I want to say Jackson. Wanda Johnson, who is the executive director of the American Society for Parenteral and Enteral Nutrition. And Aspen, the Association for Vascular Access, and several other organizations believed in us early on and gave us visibility that led to credibility. And whether it was in front of their national audience at their annual conference to promote something we were doing, or, an exhibit booth in the exhibit hall at your annual conference, it allowed us to generate enthusiasm, energy, and the ability to reach out and connect to the professionals to make them aware of the Oley and all that we had to offer. And in the beginning, it wasn't a whole lot. I mean, we had t-shirts hanging up at our booth and people thought we were selling them, but it's all good. And it really is, it's responsible, I believe, in lots of ways for contributing to who we are today, the first 40 years. I also want to, last but not least, certainly, give a nod to the Albany Medical Center for allowing us to live here. And I feel sometimes like I live here, but we are surrounded by a community of professionals who care deeply for their patients and their employees. And that sets us up for a beautiful work situation. So that is it for me. My voice is gone. So now I think it's time to shift to the most important part of this program, of this gathering. And that is, we hear from the heart and soul of Oley, the patients, family members of those we serve, our community. So, Julie, Heidi, and John. Come on down. Oh, you try it. Is it?
Well, so my name is Julie and I'm 23 years old. And
Oh, it's on. It's on.
but okay, I'll hold it out here. So I was chatting with a coworker of mine the other day, and she's quite a bit older than me, and she said, "Wow, you're a whole 23 years old," kind of joking, like you're still a baby. And I'm like, yeah, but me and my family, they didn't know if I was going to make it to 23 days, let alone 23 years. So it is quite an accomplishment. And I completely attribute my being here today at all to celebrate Oley's 40th anniversary. First and foremost to my parents, who always fought and advocated for me. But also to Dr. Lyn Howard and the Oley Foundation. Like, countless Oley members, I have short bowel syndrome. I was born with a congenital diaphragmatic hernia, and I had major abdominal surgery at just 2 days old to remove all of my organs from my chest cavity and put them back in my abdominal cavity where they belonged. And then Couple days after that, at just 4 days old, I went back under the knife because I had developed a midgut volvulus. So I ended up losing a significant portion of my small bowel, which left me, of course, with the diagnosis of short bowel syndrome. I received my first port for TPN and then one for enteral feeds when I was 10 days old. And I stayed in the hospital right here in Albany until I was just about 5 weeks old. And it was during that time that my parents met Dr. Lyn Howard. And Dr. Howard would go on not only to be my short bowel specialist, but an advocate, a guide, and a long-term family friend. So while my parents were busy just keeping me alive, Dr. Howard was busy keeping my parents' heads above water. There were too many late night, off the clock phone calls to count, and she acted not only as my specialist, but as a confidant and a therapist. So Dr. Howard encouraged me not to limit my goals and my dreams because of my diagnosis and my dependency on TPN and enteral. Instead, she and my family worked tirelessly to ensure that I had a normal childhood. I grew up running and playing like any other child. I dabbled in art, in music, and theater. I played softball. I played tennis. I earned a black belt in Taekwondo, all while receiving nightly TPN and enteral infusions. And then when I was 17, my health had stabilized enough and I no longer needed TPN. So I had my central line removed. And 4 years later, my G-tube followed suit. So today I am completely independent from both TPN and enteral. However, I never once thought that it was luck that landed me in this unlikely position. I fully believe that it was the knowledge and the support that me and my family received from Oley and specifically Dr. Howard. And that gave me such an incredible advantage. A few years ago, I worked for Oley as an intern. It will always be one of the best jobs I ever had. I miss working with Joan and Lisa and Roz and Kathy and Phil every day. I see you, Phil. I loved learning about the new developments in the HPN fields. I loved meeting people from all walks of life who found themselves in the same unique boat. And it made me realize more than anything the value of knowledge and community. I saw lives changed by the information and the connections that Oley provides. People who learned life-saving and life-improving techniques that I had been employing my whole life because I was lucky enough to have the best of the best at my side. So it took diving deep into this community for me to realize that Dr. Howard truly is one of the best in the field and that she set me up for success time and time again since the day we met over 20 years ago. And for that, I will forever be grateful. So congratulations, Dr. Howard. Congratulations, Oley, for 40 years. And I hope that it's another 40 more.
And now, Lynn, would you like to tell us, Dr. Howard, how much you paid her to say all those kind words? No, secret. Okay, next we hear from Katie Marshallak. Whoops.
I'm so grateful to be here today to thank the Oldenburg family and Dr. Howard and Albany Medical Center for making the 40 years of Oley possible. Oley's impact on me has been huge. Early in my intestinal failure journey and during periodic episodes of illness, I barely had the energy to get out of bed, and I was hooked up to multiple IV lines 24/7. I really wanted to get my life back. I really wanted to get out there and live life as I had for the previous part of my life, but I didn't know how. And the way I learned how was going online, and during my times of illness, I reviewed every single thing on the Oley website. The previous presentations, the webinars, the conferences, the newsletters. I read every word and viewed every video I could get my hands on. And that taught me so much. It taught me how to get my life back and figure out how to live a full life again. Because of that, I was able to get into living that full life again, enjoying my family, enjoying my new and young grandchildren, and enjoying traveling the world, going to places that my husband and I had only dreamed of visiting. And we didn't have to give that up. Only 4 weeks after my start with parental nutrition, my husband and I took a 14-day trip to Egypt with 8 friends. And we've had many, many trips since, and many, many visits to family across the country since, and friends. And I do thank Oley and everyone for that. I can't control my intestinal failure, but I can control how I choose to learn and live. And you all helped me do that. So I want to thank you, Dr. Howard. I want to thank the Oldenburg family. Those of us current consumers of parental and enteral nutrition, by following Clarence, your dad's footsteps, Clarence Oldenburg's footsteps. I admire him so much and admire you so much too, Dr. Howard. That's how we're able to live the life and be the people who made it, as you said. And also, Joan, for you to be committed to this entity for 40 years, that's also amazing.
Yeah, I started when I was 5.
So congratulations, and I hope I'm around for another 40 more.
So do I. And Katie, it's people like you all that inspire us to stick around. Honestly, we have long-term employees at the Oley Foundation. And now I'm inviting Natalie Wooten. Come on down.
Oley's helped me a lot. At my first Oley conference, I didn't really know there was any other kids with feeding tubes. And I found out not only did a bunch of other kids have feeding tubes, but they had gastroparesis, like I did. And there were all different kinds of tubes, not just a G tube. There was J and GJ and all these different kinds. And like, there's so many people there. And even though I was really little and I didn't understand most concepts, I was like, wow, this is awesome. So I went to a bunch after that. And then when COVID started and we couldn't really have the conferences, I still kept in touch with the friends that I've made over a bunch of years. And I've made friends from the ages from 3 years younger than I was when I first went, all the way up till, well, Joan.
Okay, that's it. You're done. You are done. Did you really say that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, gee. Oh, what about you? She could have said you.
You don't look a day past when you first started, Joan. I'm sorry. No, so I can't believe Oley's been around for 40 years because I'm almost 15 and I've only been a part of this for, I don't know how many years, like 11. Yeah. So
there's just so many people that I've met, and I've got so much information from all this different stuff. And now that I'm getting older, because when I was younger, I would explain to other kids at my school, like, oh, I have a feeding tube and this does this for me, and this is how I'm alive. And they were all like, what do you mean? Like, don't you just eat food? I'm like, well, no, that's why I have this. So it helped me understand and explain to people that didn't understand. So some people got it right away and like, oh, okay, that's great. Some people were like, I don't know what you're talking about. So now I'm starting to get to know more and more as I'm getting older. And I don't think I would have even started to understand how to explain to people if I didn't meet people in Oley, because they taught me. So you learn stuff from all these different people and you have to figure out how to put it together until you find your own way of doing it. And it's just really like everybody is so nice. And like when someone's mean to you or something, like a few years ago, there were these girls that wouldn't be friends with me once they found out I had a feeding tube. And my mom kept trying to tell me, like, it's okay, it's okay. So I was super self-conscious and I didn't want to wear a bikini anymore. So I was like, well, no one's gonna want to be friends with me. So she did something I never thought she would do. She got a tattoo of my feeding tube in the exact same place on her stomach and wore a bikini with me. And from then on, I was like, I don't care. Like, don't look at me like that. So, and then I found out all different stories about how other people's parents did similar things. And then I started to witness things on how other parents stood up for their kids or how other kids stood up for their friends. And it helped me a lot going through my different schools because I was the only kid in my elementary that had a feeding tube. I was the only kid in the middle school that had a feeding tube. And I'm pretty sure I'm the only kid in the high school that has a feeding tube. There may be one or two others, but I'm seeing the kids that I saw when I was younger that were being wheeled around in wheelchairs. I'm seeing them now that I'm in the high school. And when I get on the elevator, I'm like, oh, hi. And they're like, aren't you the kid with the feeding tube? I'm like, yes, I am. And it's great to see how people remember you because you did stand out to them, because you made a point that stuck with them. And it helps you get even more confidence because you're like, okay, people actually listen to me now. And when I was younger, my parents would talk to my doctors for me. And the other day, I went to Connecticut and he kicked my mom out of the room. And we were sitting there for like 10 minutes and I'm like, hi. So doctors are even starting to listen to me more now because I don't just sit there and be quiet. I'm like, excuse me, I don't think I should be on that medication because I don't want another one just like that. So over these past few years, they've given me more diagnoses. So now I've been diagnosed with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and other ones that I can't pronounce. And schools couldn't accommodate for me in all the other years. Like in gym classes, I couldn't do what all the other kids do, but I couldn't just sit there and not get a grade. So I would have to do it. And then I couldn't do any of my work during the rest of the day. And now, even though I don't make it to school on time, my classes, like, they accommodate for me. So I'm able to stand up if I need to at a desk. And it's not like sit down. And I have a gym class where I can do my physical therapy exercises. And I just went back to another doctor who diagnosed me with the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and they're like, well, you were not supposed to go to that OT people. You were supposed to go to these people. And I'm like, oh. So he's sending me there, and they're going to give me for my hands that'll help me so that I can do better with my writing in school. And sometimes, things go well, and then some things don't. So like right now I'm going through a rough patch again where I've only been to school for I think like 3 hours this week. But maybe next week I'll go for all 5 days. So some days it's good, some days it's not. And just knowing that there's other people out there that have the same thing, it helps a lot. Because I can like text one of my friends and be like, sorry, I'm not going to be in school today. But then I could text one of the people from Oley and they're like, hey, I haven't been to school in a month, so you're doing good. And like, I remember going into the Oley office because that's where my mom works and seeing like different people. And everybody was just like, oh, hi, you're here again. And I remember one day I went to the office and I went to Joan's office and she's like, hey, I want to show you something. And she opened her desk drawer and Quincy was inside her dog. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to know how she got in there. So they always find a way to make you laugh. And it's awesome. And everybody is like super nice. And they help you with different things and they help other people with other things. And I've seen like my mom do the kids club and I'll go on when she used to do it and they would be like, oh, I know what to get for this color. And they'd come back. Like the one time there was one kid who came back with this pump because his pump was orange. And I'm like, I used to have that pump. So it's funny because you get to connect with people on so many different levels when you could go to school and be like, well, that's orange. I'm like, no, this is orange. And there's just so many different things that they teach you and they have you understand things so that when other people don't, you don't have to feel bad about it. So it's like, oh, I'm all alone. They don't understand this. It's like, no, there are so many people that do understand this. It's just that you're going to teach them how to become one of those people. So they just make it a lot better. So sorry again, Joan.
Who paid you to say that? Thank you so much, Natalie. And now the Scallies? And I wasn't sure if Jamie was going to be able to present. I made a note. Oh, searching for courage.
It's not my strong suit. In 2008, I stumbled onto the Oley Foundation through a Google search. I was trying to find others experiencing similar challenges as my child. At the time, my then 1-year-old daughter, Olivia, was experiencing health issues mainly around her inability to gain weight, and her initial diagnosis was failure to thrive. Although it's now progressed to mitochondrial disease, gut dysmotility, and dysautonomia. As the years went by, so did our journey to find the answers and ways to support her nutritional needs. When I found the Oley Foundation, my eyes were opened to a whole new world of understanding and support. And for the first time, I didn't feel as alone. Although I was scared for my daughter, I felt hope. In 2013, my family attended our first Oley conference. We were amazed by the warmth we were met with and immediately felt part of a larger community. This conference was Olivia's first time to meet others like her, wearing a backpack, having a tubie, and having a line for nutritional support. Sorry, I get nervous. This experience has meant so much to her. She loves seeing other children and adults alike, and just like that, we became Oley Annual Conference groupies. Our love and our commitment for the Oley Foundation has only grown in the past 14 years. Oley has helped us through many difficult moments and offered us access to peer support and education while we watch Olivia's medical needs grow. With each new therapy, device, management, and emotional struggle, Oley's been there with the light on, ready to help us navigate the next thing. Our family has learned so much, and we want to thank you and wish you a happy anniversary.
And next we have Lenora Freese, whose father, what? No? Oh, you can't. I'm coming after you, Lenora. No, Lenora's. Pardon me? What? What? We'll tell funny stories about her father. Yes, Lenora Freese's dad was Woody Freese, a long time, one of the first time Oley members. And he was there to help us in any way, whether it was at a conference distributing brochures, whether it was at a picnic to cook the food. He was there, support group meetings at his house, and just a lot of fun along the way. Some things purposeful and other things purely accidental but hysterical. So do you remember one of those funny stories? Yeah.
We were in, was it Tennessee?
Yeah, Memphis.
Oh my gosh, we were in Memphis and we were Joan, myself, my mother, my father, and Julie. We're going to the hospital to visit someone
Who helped plan the?
who helped plan the event, and they told us to go to
Oh, Methodist East, and we were at Baptist East, and there's so many hospitals in Memphis. Who knew, right?
we ended up going to 4 different hospitals before we actually ended up where we were supposed to be. And my father decided that the gentleman that we were visiting, that he needed something to cheer him up. So my father decided to help himself to a plant that was in the lobby. And
Floor plant,
a
like
floor plant. Yes, and it definitely made his day. But the it was always adventures like that. But definitely growing up, being a part of the Oley Foundation was an amazing experience.
it was. And because her father, Woody, was so darn funny that you never saw, it took me probably 10 years to see the kindness and the compassion he had for other people, because he was so silly. And I put his name out there as a potential board member, and he served 6 years as a board member. He was still silly, but he had some great ideas. And oh my God, watching you grow up, and I'll never forget your sister Zena giving a presentation, very eye-opening presentation at one of our conferences, I think in Saratoga. And it was a topic that really is still not addressed enough. And it was about the life of a sibling or a child of an adult consumer. She described learning about what was going on with her father from conversations her mother had on the telephone when she came home from the hospital. And she never felt she could ask, and I don't know why. Your mother was very sharing, but it was just the busyness of all that's encompasses by the hospitalized, the ill, chronically ill patient. So your family has contributed greatly. And everything your father volunteered to do for Oley, guess whose job it was? Guess whose task it was? Her mother's. He said, "Oh, I'm going to bring chicken, parboiled chicken to the picnic. We can't have hot dogs and hamburgers every year. Oh, Joan, I got 30 pounds of chicken." I said, "Oh, wonderful, Woody." And we get there, it wasn't Woody's job to cook it, parboil it, and get it in the cooler. It was James. So, I mean, it really was a family. So I hope we see you more than just once in a while.
Definitely.
And next, we can go to our virtual audience. out the wall and just down, you'll see it. Yeah, that way. Oops. You don't want to take that with you. You're funny too. Oh, carry on, he says. Okay. Okay, so we do have some written testimonials. And could I have Andrea come forward and read Michael Medwards?
I'm honored to share Michael Medwar's story. To the Oldenburg family and Dr. Howard, heartfelt congratulations to you on the 40th anniversary of the founding of the Oley Foundation. That's 40 incredible years of providing invaluable support and education to thousands of nutrition consumers and caregivers. I'm proud to say I've been an Oley member since the early years of the organization. My mom found out about Oley through my doctor, and the founders of the Lifeline letter, Lee and Marshall Coonan, coincidentally lived in our town. But I resisted going to the Oley conference. My mom attended the second annual conference and fourth picnic in 1987 with another TPN consumer she met and my grandmother. My mom jumped right in, volunteering for the panel for families with children on HPEN. The following year, my parents dragged me to Saratoga Springs for the third conference. I was a stubborn teenager, not feeling well, didn't want to meet people, and couldn't fathom how to travel with heavy IMED 960 pumps and all of the TPN, separate lipids, and supplies. My dad took care of the travel part, mounting a large plastic storage box to the roof of our Oldsmobile 88. Little did my parents or I know how much the organization would help us learn and grow, and how much the people we met along the way would mean to us. Oley was the first place I saw innovations like a portable pump, and the first place I heard about new procedures and treatments. Most importantly, I met others who lived on HPEN and their caregivers, many of whom would become dear lifelong friends. I know this is not unique. Thousands of others can say the same. Oley has been lucky to have such a dedicated and caring staff to carry on the mission, led for so long by Joan Bishop and now by Beth Gore. To everyone who has played a role in the success of the Oley Foundation, thank you for everything you have done. Dr. Marion Winkler's landmark quality of life study provided hard proof of the Oley Foundation's value. On top of that, we all know you have improved our lives beyond measure. With appreciation, Michael Medwar.
Thank you. Can we have Mary come forward, AKA Tanya Henry?
My name is Tanya Henry. I am an Oley ambassador. Before I was an ambassador, I was a member of the Oley Foundation. This organization offers lots of valuable information. While on tube feeds back in 2017, I reached out to the Oley Foundation. They sent me a backpack to carry my tube feeds and my pump in. I will always remember that through the Oley Equipment Exchange. I love how they do Zoom support group meetings as well. I have gone to regional conferences in Dallas as well. I felt like I belonged there as there were so many on tube feeds or TPN. I love all that Oley has to offer.
And could we ask Maisie to come forward? AKA Christy P.
You. Can you hear me? Yes.
We also have 33 virtual attendees who are saying wonderful things in the chat as well. So shout out to them. So Christy says, Oley has introduced me to so many other HPN consumers, many of whom have become amazing friends. The Zoom support groups are a chance for me to open up and also realize that I'm not the only one dealing with chronic health issues, medical PTSD, and so much more. I'm so grateful that Oley is always bringing something good to my life. And Christy and I are actually friends, so I thought that was great.
Oh, are you finished? Oh, I'm up and down. I'm old. As Natalie said, I'm old, so forgive me. Just forgive me right from the beginning to the end. I'm not going to read something, but this is from one of Dr. Howard's longtime patients, Tom Sanford. He writes an email to us, and this isn't to be read publicly, but he won't mind. He's not tuned in. He writes, much to my disgust, I will not be able to make it to your 40th anniversary party. At best I can tell, I have RSVP'd. The major symptom is constant barking cough. We're glad he's not here. But other than that, he's a charming gentleman, long-term HPN, and I think he resisted going to pre-mixed solutions because he liked the idea of not having to refrigerate anything, just throw things in his camper and just go. But he does send greetings, best wishes, and he will catch up with you shortly. So if we could now have Steve Atkinson, otherwise known as, are you Sarah? Yes, very good. AKA Sarah Whitman.
Hopefully I can do justice to this, because it's truly impressive what Sarah's written here, but I'll read it in first person. My name is Sarah Whitman. My dad, Jim, at 72 years old, passed away a year ago and was a consumer of TPN for 46 years. I grew up at the Oley conference every summer, traveling to where the conference was held that year. I remember the annual relay races with TPN bags, seeing the same friends and families yearly. We met families like our own and found resources, friendly faces, and relationships that went way beyond the week of the conference. The Oley Foundation was a way for my family to gather with others, especially in the earlier days of TPN for my dad. And looking back over the time period to the 10th anniversary celebration, it was especially meaningful since at that time it was hard to find community that understood the complexities of living with TPN. My dad was the person at the conference always reaching out to new and seasoned members alike, gathering them to take photos, getting to know them, and welcoming them. He would let them know that there is hope and they are not alone. One of his most common phrases was, never give up, and Oley gave him more reasons to keep going. I am grateful for the level of connection and care Oley gave me, and I have endless gratitude to them and the role they played in me and my family's lives. Though my dad can't be at the 40th anniversary this summer, I like to believe his legacy has continued on through the deep connections made and life-giving support of the Oley Foundation. A heartfelt thanks to the Oley Foundation and community.
Thank you, Steve. And we have Lisa, otherwise known as Jennifer Stacey, longtime Oley member.
So Jennifer is also an Oley ambassador, right, Mary? Where are you? Yes. Jennifer writes, I started on HPN in January 1982, and just shortly after Oley started. Liz Tucker talked me into attending a conference in New York in 1985, and I remember how comforted and encouraged I felt by being around all those individuals who also hooked up to TPN, as it was called then. I lived in Minnesota, and until I met Liz, knew no one who even had GI problems, so I felt very alone. Once I attended that first conference and realized what Oley could offer other new HPN clients, I became very involved with trying to keep Oley relevant in today's medical world. I haven't been able to attend conferences these last years, but I'm always willing to help out and to tell new HPN individuals to contact Oley for any questions or if they are feeling lost on their new therapy. Oley always helps individuals feel relevant and not so alone and lost. Thank you for being there for all of us. Jennifer TC.
Okay, and we forgot John Mahalchek, AKA John Mahalchek. I know, really. Is that it? Yep, it is John.
I don't have to pretend to be anybody. Hi, everyone. My name's John Mahalchek. I'm thrilled to be here today to share my story with you as Oley celebrates our 40th anniversary. Before I start, thanks to Joan, Beth, and the rest of Team Oley for the invite here today. I'd like to go back to 2017. I was in a pretty rough place, both physically and mentally. Having a chronic illness was taking a toll on me and those I loved, and I knew nobody else going through what I was going through. I knew that something had to change, but I didn't know how or even what I needed to do. I'd been on TPN or tube feeds for about 5 years by then, but knew nothing about Oley. I was actually online searching for ideas on how to shower with a PICC line when I came across them online. But at that time, it just so happens that their annual conference was only a few months away in Connecticut. I convinced my parents that attending that would be a good idea, and after some persuasion, they agreed and we registered to attend. Keep in mind now, we weren't frequent travelers, and at the time had not traveled since I had been on therapy, so this was going to be a completely new experience for us. We were hoping to fly, but couldn't figure out the logistics to bring my needed supplies, so we hopped in the car and made the long drive to Connecticut for like 10 hours. We arrived and got settled the night before the activity started. When I registered, I saw the option to attend an ambassador workshop that was geared toward current volunteers and those interested in joining the program. So of course I said, why not? And I signed up for that. During check-in, I remember meeting Roz and Lisa. And they just treated me like they had known me forever already. For once, I wasn't alone. Everyone had their backpacks on with various things running. I didn't have to explain why I needed a short 10-minute break to rest or why I had a backpack that I was carrying. I wasn't defined by my illness here. We were all peers who really understood what it was like to live with a chronic illness. Believe it or not, even though I get my care from a large academic medical center with many patients on therapy, this was the first time I had met a fellow consumer. So it was truly a life-changing experience. Aside from all those things mentioned above, Oley also opened the door to advocacy for me. Had you asked me in 2017 if I wanted to become a patient advocate, I would have not have known what you were talking about. I attended an advocacy event in DC via Oley, and I was bit by the advocacy bug and have been pursuing it since. So I enjoy visiting Capitol Hill to make sure patients with digestive diseases are front and center. And I joined my local academic medical center. Patient and Family Advisory Council, where we help review new processes and procedures across the hospital system to make recommendations to make them more patient-friendly. I also enjoy volunteering with patient-centered nonprofits, including Oley, and help run a local support group. My goal as an advocate is to improve the patient experience by sharing the patient experience. I know I'm lucky to live in a city with a large academic medical center and have two parents who are both familiar with how to navigate the healthcare system. However, I know that's not true for everyone. And those peers are the reason that I do what I do. And I'm thankful for Oley for allowing me to find this new purpose in life. So back to Oley. When I got home from the conference, I knew I had to give back. So I quickly filled out the application to become an ambassador and completed an interview. And a few days later, I got the welcome pack in the mail. Since then, I've enjoyed advocating with other Rockstar advocates, doing a breakout session at the annual conference, talking about mental and social aspects of living with a chronic condition. And then last February, I received a phone call from Joan, and who asked me if I considered to be on the board. And how could I say no to that after all that Oley had done for me? So here I am now, representing the Oley ambassadors who are here in person in the chat. We've been chatting, and to my fellow board of trustees members who are all extremely dedicated to the success of Oley. I'm pleased to continue to support Oley as we pass our 40th anniversary, continuing to serve patients all over the country. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at many upcoming events, including a shameless plug for the annual conference at the end of June in St. Louis. And hopefully in 2033, when we're back here for 50 years. So again, just thank you out to Team Oley for allowing me to be here today. And then a shout out to my dad. Without, I wouldn't ever make it here. So thank you.
Now, wait a minute. Whoa, whoa. Now, John, you all heard him say you can't say no, right? John, I need a new automobile. Is that a no? I'm kidding.
that one.
Thank you for all that you do. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Studies suggest critical care patients are less likely to have complications when properly nourished. But providing effective clinical nutrition for patients quickly becomes complex with the sheer volume of questions to be answered. Overcome complexity with Baxter's 3-step process for clinical nutrition: measure, mix, nourish, to deliver individualized nutrition therapy and meet the unique needs of each patient. Our comprehensive portfolio of devices, software, and solutions is clinically proven and inspired by your commitment to your patients to help you measure accurately, mix with control, and nourish with confidence. Q Energy Plus Metabolic Monitor provides a fast, accurate, intuitive resting energy expenditure measurement. Exactamix, the trusted name in compounding, mixes customized PN with efficiency and safety. Baxter's IV macro and micronutrients deliver life-sustaining energy and nutrients. Click below to learn more about the 3 steps to simplify clinical nutrition with one trusted partner, Baxter.
Should we play it over? Did we miss much of it? Okay. Okay, so we have a couple of more testimonials. Turn her off. I know, really. Oh. Push a button. Yes, please.
Hi, I'm
This
Kat
is,
Bundy, and I've
Kat
been on
Bundy
TPN
from
for 37 years. And my first connection to the Oley Foundation was through sheer luck. In 1985, the very week that I was diagnosed with SBS and getting on TPN, the late, great Mary Patinode, former Oley president and board member and all-around great gal, happened to be in the same hospital on the same floor just down the hall from me, and we had the same underlying diagnosis. What are the odds? And we talked about everything. We stayed in touch. She encouraged me to go to the next annual conference, which was in upstate New York, which is where I happened to live at the time, so I was very lucky. And at that conference, I met a lot of patients like me and their families and caregivers and healthcare providers, and I felt instantly accepted. Like I had found my tribe. But back in the mid-'80s, it was more work staying in touch with each other because there was no internet, no cell phones, barely any home computers. So you had to work at staying in touch with people. And Oley was the focal point that kept us connected. Even in years when I haven't been able to go to the annual conferences, I actually never feel disconnected, like I don't have a community, because Oley is always there. I can reach out anytime. And talking to people like Mary and some of the old timers who got on TPN even before me, and learning about the challenges of early TPN made me feel like I'm part of this continuum. Like we're all on this SBS TPN tube feeding train together, and every year it gets a little better and a little more advanced and healthier for us. And Oley has been the constant throughout, the keeper of all those memories, of all the changes that have been happening through these 40 years. And now the conferences have grown into institutions, and there are mini conferences and ambassadors and more outreach, and now there are more treatments for SBS, so there are more stakeholders at the table, and the TPN and tube feeding community has a voice. And how they managed all of that with such a small but dedicated staff is really truly a testament to their commitment to us, the community. So happy 40th anniversary, Oley. Thank you for being our lifeline.
Do we have, who do we have? No. No, she's here. She just gave those. Okay, do we have Brian McClellan? Okay, do we have anyone else in the room that would like to share? Don't be shy. I'll pick you. Wanda. I know. This is your intro to public speaking.
Public speaking at Oley. Thank you very much.
Pardon me.
So, hello, everyone. My name is Wanda Johnson. I am the Chief Executive Officer at Aspen, the American Society for Parenteral and Enteral Nutrition. This is my first in-person Oley program, although I have come virtually once or twice. And I am so impressed and inspired by what I'm hearing. I'm over here taking notes. Hopefully no notes on what I'm saying since I'm making it up as I go along. But I work with the providers like Dr. Howard, who are really trying to make a difference, and hearing how patients are impacted is really, first of all, inspirational for me as we look at where we're going in the future. How are we going to, Dr. Howard alluded to this, and it's something that I'm very focused on because the field needs more people who are dedicated, the researchers, the clinicians, and that's something I want to see happen. So I want to say congratulations to the Oley Foundation. This is tremendous. And I'm so glad that I could be here today to support and to learn. And thank you to all of you who have shared your stories, because that's the part I don't get very often. Talking to the providers, I don't hear, what the patient experience is like. And I'm getting that from Oley. And it's, I think, rounding out my knowledge of this field. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Wanda. You're good at just jumping in. Jump right in anytime. Okay. No.
Hi, everybody. I'm Phil Kellerman. I worked with the Oley Foundation for 5 years, primarily running our equipment exchange program. I do want to apologize. I have to leave soon for a Rotary meeting. So I wanted to say hi to a few people like Lisa and Roz and Mary. Hi, Katie. Nice to see you. And Julie, I'm so sorry you won't have the pleasure of speaking with me and introducing me to your parents after. I'll just make this very brief. Prior to being with Oley, I was an advocate for immigrants for 35 years. I knew nothing about this arena. And I just want to say that I learned so much, and working for Oley was just a fantastic experience and really was the pinnacle of my professional career. And I just want to say congratulations to Oley. And Joan, you made such a smart decision hiring me, right?
Yes. Yes. And now it is an absolute, pardon me? The both of you? Okay, it's a pleasure to introduce Steve Atkinson, Oley Foundation Treasurer.
So before I was treasurer, I was a member, very briefly, my son Jameson, 22 years ago, we went through a crisis that we thought we were by ourselves. My wife Leah and I, we went through it, and we really thought we were by ourselves. There was no literature, nothing, to prepare us for anything. That wake up one day, world's great, and next day it's not. And it's just devastating. My story is not unique. And it took us a few years to find Oley. And quite frankly, when we found Oley, my son, when it happened, he was 160 pound swimmer, athlete, very competitive. We brought him into Albany Medical Hospital to meet Dr. Howard. He weighed 92 pounds. We had to help him. And Dr. Howard cut to the matter very quickly. She said, Jameson, do you want to live? Are you willing to do what you need to? And it kind of caught our attention. We said, well, that's what we want. And she said, we're here to help you. And you do know, but people outside this room don't understand how wonderful that is to hear, that we're here to help you, and we can. Fast forward 22 years now. My son is 38, married, active life, does anything he wants. And we truly believe it's because we were led to the right people, the right place at the right time. And it's not just, the outcome that was important. It was the community that it generated. And that's what we are so passionate about, my wife, Leah, and I, is about the Oley community, what it gives back, what it gives to each other. We appreciate all the business partners we have who we connect with through their products and all, but, we're also excited they're willing to listen to our stories and help become involved and improve, everything, not only the outcomes, but, the process by which we go through it. So again, I just want to say, from the father of someone who's been through this, I thought we were alone. We were not. And Dr. Howard's comments, we can help you, has just resonated through the years to the point that, I just can't say enough. So when we think of 40 years, it's like, wow, the 40 years, there's been so much accomplished. How much is going to be accomplished over the next 40 years? We don't know yet. We know that based on the legacy that Dr. Howard has given us, the work and contribution that Joan and the Oley Foundation has done, it will be successful. So again, I just want to say, from Leah, from Jameson, myself, thank you. We just can't say it enough.
Thank you, Steve. And it's now my pleasure to introduce Beth Gore as the Oley Foundation Executive Director with all those responsibilities. Don't cry.
Not yet, right? Thank you. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being online. Thank you to these people up here and the people who sit here. I'm actually new. I'm new to Oley compared to this. We've got 40 years, 50 years. We're talking about people who've been connected forever, and we're fairly new. My story is we have 6 children. They're all adopted with special needs. Thought we knew a few things by the 6th one, and he ended up in nutrition support. And it's a whole nother pothole of problems and things, even though we had navigated the medical world. And I gave a keynote speech one day, and thousands of people in the audience, and afterwards, and talking about patient experience. And Joan walked up afterwards and said, "We need you to come to the Oley Foundation." My son had lived on nutrition support his whole life, and we had never heard of the Oley Foundation. And yet here I was doing national advocacy and keynote speeches, never having heard of it. And so I came into the door and met my tribe, my people, right? Like that several of you guys have said. But part of the other story is this, is most of you, a lot of you have had that same story that just says, almost in hushed tones, we have to put them on parenteral nutrition. It's life limiting. And it's just so sad. And, it basically felt like I'd killed my kid. That's what it felt like when they gave that diagnosis. You're not told anything else. And so I wore this heaviness that I could not explain to anybody else, that he's going to die without it, but this decision is also going to kill him. And that was the story I had been told. Expect 2 central line infections a year, expect this problem, and so forth. And I wore that very heavily. I walked into our first Oley convention. I met people who had been on it for 40 something years. And I'm like, what the heck? These people don't know what they're talking about. Why is that story also not told? That says it's a spectrum. Some people get infections and they have complications, but some people can also live X number of years, and it can be something that you can live. So we live in Florida and we live near Disney World. So we go on roller coasters and we live life. And I think a lot of times people that are not in this world, they see patient and or consumer, same thing. They see them as almost laying in an ICU bed. And that's how they see us, not riding on roller coasters and on airplanes and traveling and truly living our lives. And so that's my story. And so I wanted to give back, like John was saying. And so eventually came on the board, was the president of the board. And last year, over the last few years, Joan has asked the board to say, we would like to start to retire. I'm years old and I would really like to start to retire. She'll tell you, I'm not going to do it. But we wanted to honor that. We wanted to honor the legacy. We wanted to, but how do you move on when she's done this for so many years? So many people equate Joan with Oley. And how do you do that? How do you find that person? And so as the president, I'm sitting there saying, how do we do this? How do we go forward? And we need what we need to, but I want to honor what she's done and how do we bridge to the next thing? And so the board said, we think it's you. And I'm like, no. I'm looking for the person who it is. John was there, Steve was there, and they said, we think it's you. And I took it very seriously. I contemplated I said, I'm willing to do this for a period of time because the mantle is very, very heavy and it's a lot. This is an important organization and I don't want to get it wrong. I don't want to screw it up. I don't want to mess this up. Lives are at stake. What we do is important. We don't knit. That's not what we do. We're not a knitting club, right? Though you can bring some stuff to the silent auction if you want, right? So, like, how do you do that? And I started to realize this isn't on me. This isn't on me. This is on us. We are a community. It is Julie. It's one person at a time. It's all of us. It's going to take the clinicians to be part of our community. It's going to take the consumers, it's going to take the caregivers, it's going to take industry, it's going to take innovation, and it's going to take my beautiful staff. It's going to take all of us to do this. And all of a sudden it starts to become a doable task. We're going to divvy this up and we're going to do it together. That's the theme I've heard through all these speeches today, these stories, is that we plugged in and we did it together. And so that's what the 40 years have been. That's what the next 40 years are going to be, is we do this together. What I think where we're shifting slightly, not tons of changes, but where we're going is some things on purpose. How do we do these things on purpose? How do we go to that next level? How do we encourage more voices to get involved? We never want to lose the voices of the people who've been doing this since before I was born. We do not want to lose those voices. But I also want to bring in those voices of the ones who just yesterday, for the first time, got hooked up. I remember the day that was for my son. They remember that and they need help. They need the next one. And I think Oley's done a really great job of that individual one-on-one. We heard some comments that said, how do we basically systemically also do some things? Can we add a national voice? Can we become the patient voice, 2 of and 4, not just one-on-one? Continue to do that. But how do we do that as the voice of the patient who is living with nutrition support? How do we do that? And so the board got together in November, and you can even see it on a little bit on these bookmarks. If you didn't get one on the way out or on the way in, we have them around the tables. Please take one. On the back is just some of the highlights of our mission, our vision, our strategic plan, and our values. Where are we going? And you'll notice it's not very far off from the one we already had. We added a couple of words in there, but this is who we are. This is who we'll continue to be. How will we do this? Through education. We're going to continue to do all the things that we've done: annual conferences, mini meetings, regional meetings, webinars, the Lifeline newsletter. Those are so important. We're also going to do the advocacy, like I was talking about, the individual, but also what is the voice that we need to take? Do we need to go to Congress? Do we need to talk about reimbursement from a patient perspective? Do we need to say, here's the call to action that we have? Do we have national plans that we can come together? Can we do a patient-led research initiative? There are some really good ideas that we have, and we want everybody's voices added to the collective so we can say and be the tip of the spear that says, this is where we're headed. This is what we need. Will you join us? Will you come with us along this journey?
We've got a community, and I've mentioned that so far, is the patients and caregivers and their families, because this truly is a patient affair. I mean, like my son, he's 13, he's hooked up. He's at home right now in Tampa, Florida. I'm here. Who's helping my kid while I'm here? The family, because we're all, only one of us has a central line, but we are all very affected by it. He has a G tube. In fact, on Monday, I was talking to the surgeon today because he's having to have some surgery on Monday. I'm getting back just in time to do that. This is a reality. So this isn't free. This is reality. I was on an FDA listening session practice one day, and thankfully we were off camera because we had an emergency thing happen. I just put it on mute. I did an emergency dressing change right there. And then I thought, oh, it's a good thing they can't see me. And then later I thought, you know what? Maybe they should have, because that's reality too. We were on a trip on the way somewhere, and his central line broke. Well, there's a detour on the way to the trip, you know? And so I walk into, and they said, why are you here? I'm here to give a speech. What's it about? Well, this is, so like reality comes in there. And so we have staff who's been around for a while. We have some members who you guys know their faces. There's also a couple of new faces. Get to know them as well. They bring some unique angles as well. Our staff is amazing, and they will support you in every single way. We added one word, which is innovation. This is another pillar of strategic pillar, and I'll just quickly tell you what that means. In all the years, we heard Michael Medwar actually talk about that. Like the pump was this, and now it's this. People used to only have it on this way, and now I can have a backpack. But innovation still needs to happen. So we have a call to action on innovation, whether it's the processes, the doomahickey thingamabobs, the way we do this, whatever it is, the way we communicate. How are we going to innovate so that in 40 years, people are standing up here and saying, wow, this is what Oley did for me. Things that we have not thought of today that are going to be there. And we need you as part of the community to do that as well. So I am excited. It's a lot. It's a lot, right? But we're going to do it together. And that's the way we're going to do this. And I want to invite you to some future things that are really coming up really soon. So just a little quick advertisement. So for example, Tube Feeding Awareness Week, because we talk a lot, like my child happens to be on parenteral nutrition. We have more people on enteral than we do on parenteral, and some that are quite a few that are dual therapy. That's another whole conversation that we need to be having, because that's an issue too. But we have Tube Feeding Awareness Week next week, February 6th to the 10th. How are you going to celebrate Tube Feeding Awareness Week? One of the things that we're doing is we're going to have a webinar on the 7th. Enjoy and join us on that. And it's about navigating work and home while infusing. So that's exciting for us. Again, I want to thank Baxter for contributing to this and sponsoring this. This is just one example of a partner program that they came up. They brought an innovative idea to us, and they said, we want to partner with you, and we want to talk about what is it like to live. And so these cards are available. They're sitting around. Please feel free to look at them or take some. In fact, this artist is in the room, so you might want to talk to Olivia back here. And she was one of the winners of a contest that we had. Just what is it like to be independent? And that was a partnership with Baxter. And so we're excited about that. And then I want to also do a shameless plug on this. On the front side, as you do the QR code, and you can take us right to our annual conference that's coming up. And there's a few details on there, but keep coming back, because we'll continue to add more and more details to that page, right? And it's in St. Louis, and we're so excited to have you. What I find interesting, though, is as I was going through some of the history, because I said I'm new, I wasn't there. Some of you guys lived it, right? You guys remember going to these places. This one says June 23 to 24, 1989. And it says the 4th annual conference, 6th annual summer picnic. And the questions on there, it says, where did we come from? Where are we now? And where are we going? I don't know about you, but that strikes me. I asked those same questions today. This is where we've come from, and we want to honor our legacy, what we build on. Where have we been? Where are we now? We need to have a hard look in the mirror about some things and just celebrate some other things, right? Where are we going? That's up to us. We have some ideas. The board has some ideas, but we want to hear from you. We want you to submit ideas, call us, connect with us, tell us where we should be going, and we'll do this together. So I thank you for attending today. I thank you for coming. I thank you for being here. And I thank you that you're willing to join us next. Our theme is Gateway to the Future, or that could not be more appropriate for where we are. So thank you. Thank you to Joan.
And it's see you in St. Louis, right? That's the takeaway. Now, Beth reminded me when she talked about innovation and the power of the consumer's voice. We were at an annual conference, and believe me, I've been to so many, I couldn't even guess what year it was. But a company hosted a focus group. And the topic of the focus group, what they were looking, what the takeaway they were hoping for was, what would you like to see in a pump? And they walked away with a list of about a dozen things that were important to just about everyone. Well, talk about fast forward a year later, having the problem of being an organization that is approached with the company that wants to give everyone at the conference a portable pump. And we had to think about it. We had to call lawyers to see, okay, who owns the pumps? Do they own them? Do we own them? Where do they get the tubing? Is their home care company going to support the pump? It's just, that's a problem. So anyway, but I mean, we did manage to work it out. And I mean, talk about your voice and how important it is. So I hope when you get an email or a telephone call asking you to help us, that we have, interest, and we will have interest in St. Louis. And so stay tuned. We need your voice. Pardon me? Yes. Oh, now we can mingle.
Yeah.
We can mingle. Everybody.
And we have some snacks back here, and we would love to hear from you. Please mix and mingle, and we're looking forward to meeting those you don't know yet.